Hey everybody, this is Brandon. Just doing another follow-up video regarding the Klonopin Cymbalta withdrawals that I've been going through since January 2018. It's now end of August 2018. Um, First of all, thanks for all the support and all the feedback I've been getting through comments and personal messages and things like that. It means a lot. I appreciate it. Part of the reason I started this documentation was because I wanted to, for myself, obviously, be able to look back and see some progress or learn from it or whatever. And obviously, I also wanted to help other people that may be going through the same situation. I know I was inspired to do that from other videos on YouTube I had seen. After months of researching the situation, I now know what tolerance withdrawal is, which actually started before I tapered and quit. And you know more about what's going on. I feel in some ways I know more about this stuff than the MDs do. Not that I'm a doctor or anything, but nor do I have any experience in that. But just experience going, I guess, is and having been failed by them in some degree. I've also learned that it's better for me to go to integrated doctors, or I guess I call them natural paths or whatever, like situations like that, versus just a straight MD who's going to throw some pills at you or run unnecessary tests or anything like that. So thank you for all the help, the feedback and everything, and the guidance from everybody, especially the emotional side of things, because it can be pretty rough, as you know, if you're going through it or you have a loved one that's going through it. I also, through all this, was counting some of the months and realizing that since I quit cold turkey, I guess you could say, at 0.25 milligrams, it was basically between 0.25 and 0.5 milligrams, but I think I'd gotten down to about 0.25 when I dropped. There again, under the guidance of a doctor at the time, who probably didn't know as much as, I'm sure they meant well, but wasn't a good way to drop. And I dropped after the 6.5 years of using 1 to 1.5 milligrams. I'd always cut it down a little bit, but either way, I was on it for the entire time. Cymbalta kicked in. I was prescribed that in 2014 at 120 milligrams, which is ridiculously high from what I now know. So I started the tapering of that of Cymbalta around end of February, middle of February, but I jumped at 0.25, somewhere around there, of Klonopin at the January 24th was actually the date, I believe. So doing the math, I've come to realize that I'm just now at 7 months, I guess, based on August 24th of this year. So good news, bad news situation. Good news is that I guess it could be worse. Bad news is that you're a month shy of whatever destination you're trying to get to. But, accepting that, it is what it is. So I guess now, fully understanding that I'm at 7 months on August 24th of 2018, of completely cold turkey or quitting the Klonopin, and just shy of that, I guess 6.5 months of doing a taper with Cymbalta, because you can't just quit 120 milligrams, and you really have to be careful with tapering as well. Most of that tapering of that has been done by essentially opening up the capsule and removing beads little by little, a certain rate based on the Ashton manual. Things like that with Klonopin, I kind of took that into effect with Cymbalta, and been cutting like 25%. At first I wasn't cutting quite as much, and then I started speeding it up in the last few months. The last video I did, I was in a better place. It's been about 3.5, 4 weeks, I guess, something like that, since I've done my last video. Not feeling as well as I felt in the last video. I hit I guess you want to say a wall, or a hard wave about 4 days, 5 days after I made my last video. I was working out heavily. I was playing basketball every day for an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, and outdoor court. And then at the end of the night, I was doing about an hour, and then got up to about an hour and a half in the gym. I was just going too fast. I was getting a little bit ridiculous with it, because I've always been somebody who liked to work out, at least for stress relief, and obviously shoot basketball for fun. And I was trying to get back into whatever my vision of what I once was, I guess. But as I said before, I'm 44 years old now, and I think I was out there trying to play like I was 22. Felt like I had legs like I was 32. And to reality, it was 44 with protracted acute withdrawal syndrome and Cymbalta withdrawals going on with that and Klonopin. It just kind of came to us crashing halt for me. So I guess it was the right before the weekend, right after I made my last video, and I had been in the gym, and I was doing, like I said, an hour and a half or so on the court. It's been really hot out here in the Midwest. I'm sure it's been hot everywhere, but I think the heat index one day recently was 105. It was like 96 degrees outside, and I would be out there playing ball, not drinking enough water, sometimes not even drinking water for an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, if at all. Just ridiculous. I would even get to the point where, well, I'll come back to that in a second, but then I would go to the gym at night and do at least 30 minutes on the treadmill as we call it, put it on an incline. Even if I wasn't running the whole time, getting a good, 300 to 400 calorie burn if I could. Not that I needed it. My weight got down to about 184 pounds, which is still in the area I like to be, but it was, very dehydrated. I'm back up now in the last few weeks since then to 187, so I guess I put on a pound a week, so that's good. I did back off going to the gym, and lately I've backed off completely of going to play basketball. Like I said, I'll get back into that. But so I would be out on the court doing an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then go to the gym, do 30 minutes of cardio, and then I hit the machines, and I was just gassed. And I started noticing that my blood pressure was just shooting high, which I guess is normal. I should have saw that coming in the gym. Straining too hard, being dehydrated, plus straining on the machines or the free weights. I don't do a lot of free weights, but dumbbells and stuff, and then just too much, too fast. And after about the second or third rep, I guess you could say, on the machines or in the weights, I would started feeling some chest sensations. Ultimately, I think they were heart palpitations or whatever. I've had panic attacks before. It was a little different. I think a combination of being completely dehydrated. There were times where I was in the gym and even after 30 minutes on the machine, I wasn't even sweating that bad, although I was fairly tired. I think I just dehydrated myself before I even got there on the basketball court. So then afterwards, my wife and I were working out together, so afterwards I was feeling really gassed, and one day on the way home I actually passed out in the car. My wife checked the heart rate. It was a little elevated, so we did some grounding techniques and things like that as I came to. It's one of those where you don't completely pass out, but unable to function. You're just, if you've been in this situation, it feels like a little mini seizure or something. It's kind of crazy. But so I kept going over the next few days, trying to do a little less, but it kind of kept coming up. And then even days where I wasn't doing it, I started noticing I was having more chest sensations, started feeling a lot of pounding right here, which I guess the heart's in here somewhere, but I was feeling a lot, and I still do sometimes, like a pain going on up here. At first I thought it was from doing the fly, machine like that. Maybe I'd strained something, but after time went by and I hadn't been working out as much, so I started feeling it. Plus massive sweat coming over me. Even as I'm speaking now, I can feel like just a irregular rhythm here and there, and then it settles down. But so basically, I'm sure nervousness goes into that as well. So I started realizing that, laying back on my back, putting my feet up on incline so blood was going to my head a little easier. Started with a cold rag over my forehead to stop the crazy sweating that was going on. And like I said, this is even out of the gym. So like on a day where I didn't, I'd just be all of a sudden, boom, this would happen. To where a couple of times I actually felt like I was completely blacking out, and my arm was kind of tingling, like a little bit of people we've talked about having tingles and stuff in your feet and in your hands and stuff. It was doing that a little heavily. And not completely going numb, but just a sensation that was erratic. And it wasn't happening in my right arm, so it was kind of scaring me. Which I'm sure as a psycho, then you start thinking, oh crap, heart attack, blah, 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 yada, yada. You start going through all this mind thing, playing tricks on you and stuff. So one thing I found that works is grounding techniques and I hate to say it, but cold showers. No heat. Obviously you can't stand there forever, but 5 minutes with me in the cold shower kind of calms things down, at least cools me off. So maybe it's related to the dehydration and the blood pressure with the withdrawals. I'm not sure. When you look up some of the Klonopin long-term protracted withdrawals and even Cymbalta, they're very similar. And some of them, they all say the same thing, essentially, that, irregular, chest pains or sensations, hypersensitivity, things of that nature. Other symptoms I'm still dealing with is Definitely the mind racing. As probably you can tell in this video, I'm all over the place. That seems to be still, I guess that's probably a big symptom for people coming off anxiety meds, because anxiety, you're talking a mile a minute, and now I'm back to doing that, it seems. But it seems worse, so maybe it's just a healing thing. You just would think 7 months off of Klonopin, that would start going away, but it hasn't. Other things, just like my stomach problems. Yeah, stomach problems have been, that's been one of my number one things, issues. Mine has been a lot of bloating and a lot of air buildup, gas buildup. Not so much burping, but the other way. And truthfully, sometimes it feels like it's not coming out either end. It's just, and I hate to be graphic with it, but it just feels like a lot of pressure. So I don't know if that's just hypersensitive, if it's even anything happening, or if it's just the GABA receptors and the nerves all jacked up. I don't know. But either way, it's pretty frightening, at least for me, because as I've said in other videos, from 2005 to 2012, I had some serious health problems related to my stomach, and ended up losing my appendix over it, which is kind of crazy to live that long with that. All that is why I got put on some of the medication to begin with, because I had so much PTSD from that. But so they say that some of this stuff kind of attacks you at your weakest point. So I would say one of my weakest points is fear of stomach-related problems, and that's definitely been one of my number one problems. The other one is irritability. Still seems to be the same. Definitely increases as my blood pressure increases, or fear. Kind of caught in the fear moments all the time still. There's a lot of emotional instability, I guess, for me. I tend to not respond correctly. I don't know if there's depersonalization, derealization, and then when I seem to not process things correctly. People's tones really either sadden me or frighten me, or just make me overall moody. Moody's probably not the right word, but make me respond incorrectly. So I guess I'm processing it incorrectly, and I can be probably a jerk to be around at times, but and that can be depressing too, because you start feeling like you're a burden to the people around you, the people you love. But trying to work on that. Heart palpitations, heart irregularities. Like I said, it doesn't seem to be enough to taking my pulse and everything. Doesn't seem to be other than out of rhythm at times, or sped up highly, whether it's been too much gym work or just too much anxiety coming over me. Sometimes it just happens. So either way, it gets a little racy, and then if I can calm down, whether it's with grounding techniques or a cold shower or whatever. Grounding techniques, by the way, what I do is go through the 5 senses. It's something that was researched by my wife. It seems to work at times, not all the time. Basically, the 5 senses, you start with 5 things that you can see and name them, vocally name them, and then you move on to the 4 things that you can, I don't know, you can go through all the senses, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it kind of takes you out of the moment a little bit. If it's 5 things you can see, 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that you can smell, 2 things that, I'm going with this. It just makes you think for a minute, and it can be anything, you can touch your hat, you can touch your kneecap, whatever, touch, you can see the wall, it's whatever, it just takes you away for a minute, and if you have to keep recycling those things, and there's nothing wrong with that. So anyways, that'll work, or like I said, if all else fails, sometimes I hit the cold shower, which I hate that because that's kind of like my last stop. If that doesn't work, I don't know, I guess the next stop is you think about going to the hospital or something, but it's kind of frightening. And so other things I've done is kept drinking kefir. That's been recommended. Take a daily probiotic. I'm eating a lot of greens, a lot of healthy stuff, steamed broccoli, things that are good for anti-inflammation of the stomach. I think that if I could just get rid of that problem, then I would feel 50% better. But, there it is. I think that some of that anxiety from that continues to keep me in this loop. But, anyways, back to the basketball. Like I said, how it is, scrambled thoughts when you're in this. I think it's important to put this out there, though. Scrambling of my emotional responses, or how I interpret things. I guess that's distorted reality or whatever. But with the final straw for me, I think playing basketball. It was the second to last time I played, which was, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. Um, and it's been tough because I love playing basketball. But it just finally, it was too much. I was getting out there, and it was I was obsessed with trying to get back into like game shape. And then, looking at it now, I'm like, what's game shape? I'm 44 years old. I never played in the NBA, and it's not like I ever was or had any dreams to do it. But there was this mindset that if I could just get right to where I was, and like, not even like physically, but if like, my jump shot could just be 90%, which is unrealistic, really. But so I would get out there and I started doing things like just call it what it is, punishing myself out there. It'd be 95 degrees, heat index probably over 100, and I'd take a little thermos of water, and just not probably like just a regular amount of water, 12 ounce or whatever, I don't know. And I started saying, okay, no water until you make 3 to 5 3-pointers in a row, and the more pressure that builds on that, the more you start missing, especially if you're like me. I'm a real streaky shooter. And so the next thing you know, you've gone an hour or so without water because, making a few in a row here and there, but making 3 to 5 in a row from long range. And now you're getting really deprived of water, dehydrated, and angry, and so you're making more mistakes. So that's not healthy. Plus staying out there in that kind of weather an hour and a half when you're in withdrawal, that made my chest probably a lot worse. And then the other thing that really crashed and burned for me was, I was out there, and I've been out there about an hour and a half, and I was shooting, as crazy as it sounds, but just past the half-court line. I was shooting half-court shots for like 30 minutes straight. And I was actually doing all right, making like 2 out of 10, which is pretty incredible. I've never even been able to do that consistently. But they're not stuff you would do in a game or anything, not really. So, but I was doing it just, and I kept doing that, and then after about an hour and a half, this little kid showed up. He was like 14 years old, I think he said, and he played basketball for his school and everything, and I think he was a freshman player or something. And either way, he was. I know he said he was 14. I don't know how. He lived in the neighborhood and everything, and he was like, "Hey, can I play a game of one-on-one with you?" I was like, I've been out here for a little while shooting and practicing, but yeah, let's do this. So it ended up that we played and he beat me 11-5, and I just could not process that. I didn't make a big deal in front of him or anything. He went on his way. I was so blasted by the time he started playing me that I wasn't even playing defense on him, and he was playing on me all the way out to the 3-point line, and I was just gassed. I actually felt like I was going to pass out right there. Like I couldn't even barely get off the ground. I didn't want to say anything because pride, whatever. And so after he left, I just sat there and sat down and thought, and then like instantly I was like overwhelmed with this voice, almost I call it, which was, and I guess this is where somebody mentioned intrusive thoughts in the comments. It's like, yeah, it's pretty intrusive because it was just like, kill yourself. You're not good at anything. You're never going to beat these withdrawals. You're always going to have fear. You're always going to have chest pains and stomach pains. You're never going to get back to normal. Now you can't play basketball. You can't even beat a 14-year-old kid, which, let's put it, he's 30 years younger than me, and he played, on his school team. I mean, and he played like it. He was decent. And but I couldn't process that correctly. And so I instantly was ready to, this is kind of hard to say, but I texted my wife and told her, look, man, I'm sorry, this is what happened, but I'm going to put my phone down and I just got to go. Which is usually, she knows me, means, oh my God, he's thinking suicide. And I was already processing that I was going to just hang myself from one of the basketball goals. I'm out there, at that point by myself, just like, yeah, I'm just going to do this. And, thankfully, I didn't have anything to do that with because, I don't know, I was in a lost state at that time, heavy withdrawal was coming over me, just worthlessness, just the fear of never being able to be good at anything, being able to beat anything. And, I was like, if you can't beat a 14-year-old kid, like I said, not even realizing that this kid is 14, and was pretty good, or, and you're 44. And taking it just too, even if, I was 14 and he beat me, like that's not enough to go kill yourself. So it just, the intrusiveness of that, the thoughts in my head. And my wife just kept hammering with the texts and everything, and finally called and got through to me and kind of, grounded me basically. And if I'm glad that I was able to go back home and calm down, because I'm glad it's not like I had a rope or anything on me, but it forced me to like not do anything crazy. Um, but since then, it's really just derailed me. Like, okay, between rising blood pressure, too much time on the court, I'm gonna stop doing that. So I've taken a break from that, trying to wait and see if I can get things back in order. I've gone the drop down from at the beginning of the year it was 120 milligrams of Cymbalta. Now I'm at 30 milligrams. So somewhere between 60 and 30, things are starting to get a little difficult. Last video I did, I had just recently dropped to 45, which is probably where the hammer hit me at the end of that week. And then since then, I've dropped down to 30. Been on 30 milligrams now for a week and a day, I believe. And I'm probably going to shorten that up to like 20 milligrams on the next drop. Only go to 20. And then, because it's just getting like, it seems like the closer I get to zero in Cymbalta, the more frightening it gets, and the more like chest pains and heart rhythms out of whack. It just gets crazy. Which, you started off with this taper and this quit of these things, and it's tough as hell. And then I guess it's only appropriate that it ends that way too. It's start and finish hard. But it is a struggle. Suicidal thoughts are hammering me like daily, multiple times a day, to the point where, not to be overly descriptive, but we have a basement full size here that I already have like literally picked out a spot. It's a steel beam that goes up in the air. I took a photo of that picture so I can look at it, and that's just weird stuff, right? I mean, it's to be obsessed with. This is where almost idolizing this spot. Like, okay, I'm gonna. I even thought in my office now. I was like, I'll take my recliner down there, and do like a soft. Well, I don't want to go into detail, but anyway, spending too much time thinking about that kind of stuff. I don't plan on doing that because I don't want to give up, but I also feel like the purpose of this videos is if like not just for me to look back and say, yeah, you beat that, but for other people that can sit back and see if they're further behind or ahead or whatever, and they're feeling hopeless, that they can, I don't want to put a message out there that's all very pro, and then then I don't make it, because then it feels like it's all it is a testimony of the terror and nightmare, and you can't beat it. I want to win, so others can see that this is a winnable fight. Because I'm one of the most I don't want to say traumatized, but I have had a lot of stress and trauma in my life, just unbelievable amounts. And I feel like I can see why I got put on some of this medication, and I'm not even sure if I need to be on something like Cymbalta for depression and things, but at this point I just got to get off all these medications and kind of get at ground zero a little bit, and then look. And I had no intention of ever going back on any kind of like benzo or narcotic or anything. So anyways, I know I'm rambling. I had planned on making this video shorter, but I want to thank everybody for the feedback, the questions. Sometimes the comments in there actually get me thinking, about things I need to talk about that I forgot. Like the person that mentioned intrusive thoughts. Someone previously, several times actually, told me they had to quit playing basketball because their blood pressure kept skyrocketing, and ultimately I ran into that. It seems like at first I thought it was no big deal. The difficult part for me in this is not knowing where the Klonopin withdrawals, the protracted acute withdrawal syndrome, starts, whatever. I know where it starts, but and when the Cymbalta withdrawal starts, they're so similar, and the polydrug syndrome, withdrawal syndrome, is definitely in play with me, and I don't really know which one is which, or if they're both working together, or what, and I think that's the drive for me to get off the Cymbalta so quick, because I need to know if some of these, especially stomach-related issues and stuff, are as a part of withdrawal or whatever, and which one is the Klonopin withdrawal, and which one is Cymbalta withdrawal, or is it both? I feel like the only way to know is to get completely off the Cymbalta, especially since Klonopin's been out of my system I haven't taken a Klonopin since the end of January. It's hard for me to get my mind around the fact that 7 months later that stuff's still giving me all this hell. Some of the things that have gotten better, I would say the hypersensitivity to sound seems to be a little better. I'm not saying that if somebody dropped a bell behind me, it would be no problem. I'd probably jump out of my chair, but I definitely don't seem to be as jumpy to sounds. I've gotten better about avoiding certain triggers. Some of it sucks. Like I said in the other videos, I work online, or I did work online a lot, and I've pretty much gotten to the point where I'm just going to let that have to just take a complete year off, just this whole year, because I've had to avoid all social media. Because when I go back on, I find myself getting re-triggered with the state of things, people back and forth. It just, even if you're there to work, it gets you, at least it gets me. And so I'm avoiding basically all social media. Actually removed some of the social media apps off of my phone, with the exception of like Instagram and stuff, because it's just pictures and stuff, and I can just go on and post a pic, like a couple pics, and I'm out. And definitely keeping YouTube, but like Facebook and Twitter, out of here. Twitter especially is one of the places I was working a lot, and those networks have seen a downcrease in usability and users, up to like 20% in some place, which means you got to work harder, and for the people you're working for, and it's too much. So best took up time off that. That's been helpful. Avoiding even the news. Like, I used to like watch too much news, from last year and this year, with everything going on, and the world, politics, everything, just getting hammered with all that. So I'm avoiding all news pretty much the best I can. And when it comes to films and movies, I still watch a lot of movies and stuff. I use Apple TV a lot, kind of cut down to YouTube TV. And but even then, I don't watch a lot of that. So if I'm watching movies, it'll be off the Apple TV or something. And I try to keep it to comedy at this point, because other movies, even though I like horror movies, action movies, sci-fi stuff, some of those can just get too intense. And when you're in this withdrawal, they just seem to drive up the sensations and everything. So comedy seems to be a little better. So been doing that. Like I said, avoiding social media. That's a big part for me. As far as like the old symptoms of like the eye pains and all that kind of stuff seems to be getting better. I don't really do a lot of reading right now, because it in the past kind of aggravated some of my eye pains and stuff like that. Still wear sunglasses a lot. That's pretty much it, I guess. Just trying to avoid. Oh, and I have some friends that I've met through the years that I've had to kind of like distance some of the communication a little bit, because some of the trauma they got going on. And you got to look. Somebody said to me the other day that like, if you could sum up in 3 words some of these current relationships, what are they bringing? What do you? And none of them were healthy for me. It doesn't mean I'm cutting anybody off, but it just means I had to, for my own health and stuff, if they're not willing to like help or be, understand where you're at, that, you can't be letting people just unload on you all the time. I'd rather be like, on YouTube talking to people that are going through the same struggle and try to be of help to them, people that are in the same war, same fight. That seems to be, a little bit of control I can put out there. Which, today I definitely still feel like I'm still in a wave right now. I'll probably act like it, look like it compared to some of my other videos. But I saw a YouTube video earlier today from somebody who I've been following a lot. Actually, it kind of encouraged me to get on here and do this. One of my favorite YouTubers, and they had made a video after it seemed like a month off or something, maybe even longer. But they were like doing a lot better and everything. And I just, if anything, I was like, all right, get off your ass. Even if you don't feel well, go up there and record this. It is what it is. You like death or whatever. You look bad. You're talking bad, but this is just a wave. You get to another window again. But so I appreciate those people that are doing that, because everybody's in their own personal war, and there's soldiers all over the place. Some of those people out there making these videos for other people, I'll probably never talk to some of these people other than just online here and there, and some of them not at all. And they inspire me to just try to take some control of my life and try to give something back, because at this point I feel like it's the only control I have. I may not be able to be a 14-year-old kid out on the basketball court anymore, but I can make a damn video, So, hopefully it'll help somebody, and hopefully it'll help me, I've always said to anybody watching this, I may never talk to you in person or even voice, whatever, but, believe it or not, I do care about you. I hate that you're going through this, no matter what it is, but if you're in some sort of withdrawal, specifically like the Benzo or Cymbalta withdrawal, I feel for you. I care about you. definitely, I'm fighting not to hurt myself, and I kind of hope and expect the same from you. You know, I want you to know that you are loved, you're valued. The same things that I wish about, you know, myself. You know, and I hear it from my wife, and you know, I know, you know, I know that I'm valuable in some way, to, you know, on this planet, but I know everybody else needs to hear that too. So don't, you know, take your life for granted as far as thinking nobody cares. You know, you are very important to this world. If anything, maybe, you know, to help you, like I said in the past, take, journal your stuff, make a video, document. There's an incredible sense of power in overcoming a fear of putting all your stuff out there and then letting just whatever happens, happens. If you look at it from a viewpoint of just trying to help people, then, and not trying to, you know, be in some social media game, then you can actually feel like you're overcoming something, at least one little step at a time. At least that's what it's done for me. Other people have inspired me to do that. People I'll never meet. I don't even know if it's appropriate to say this, but if you're searching for information on this and you want to see a journey that's really helped me, and I think it could help you, as a YouTuber. His name is Sixslow, Sixslow, Sixslow. Incredible testimonies there. If you do find him, just keep in mind that, like everybody else, you have good and bad days. But for the most part, I mean, we all have good and bad days, especially in this withdrawal. But for the most part, it's, you know, you should watch him. He's getting better, and you know, it helped me learn a lot about this situation and kind of guided me. And I haven't even talked to him, you know, so just putting that out there. If, you know, if it's not my video, and if you're looking for others, you know, that's one you might want to start with. I'm doing better about getting out in public a little bit, although agoraphobia does, sometimes I welcome that, because it's like it's the only way I can avoid any kind of situation. But I do try now and then to get out. Even sometimes I go to Cardinals games. I'm not really a big baseball fan, more of a basketball guy, of course, but it's fun. Take the sunglasses, whatever, and just, you know, and then if I have to leave at the 7th inning when they're stretching, I'm dipping, you know, whatever. You know, it's I try to get out now and then. Better to do that like once a week or once every 2 weeks, you know, and just get out now and then. I don't really eat out as much as I used to, but I don't know, one step at a time, you know. I do apologize for the rambling. I'm definitely caught in a wave, so I'm like scatterbrained all over the place, but I think that's about it, you know. Otherwise I'll sit here and ramble more. It's been 32 minutes, so if you're struggling, just know that someone out there believes in you. Multiple people do. I guarantee you, lean on this community if you have to. Find a group online, find a group somewhere, watch YouTube videos, brainwash yourself. Look at it like a flow chart. If you just keep hammering yourself with, you know, like if you're on a computer and you just kept brute force attacking something, you know, eventually you would, you know, you would make some changes. Look at it that way. If you've got to hammer yourself and brainwash yourself with affirmative words and I will make it kind of stuff, do that. You know, find it. All it is a search away on YouTube. You'll find people out there that care about you. And even if you don't know that they do, you can watch enough videos and brainwash yourself to at least feel like you do in that moment. If that even made any sense whatsoever, I don't know. But I want you to know this is a winnable fight. I'm not giving up, so I hope none of you are either. Remember, I love you, I care about you, and as always, I say, please keep fighting the good fight. And I'll try to make another video in about 2 weeks. I keep saying I'm going to make a video about some of the early sickness stuff that's kind of related. Just to put this quickly out there, I realized that looking at some of the medical records that I've kept and researching stuff from the past, I'm doing what I said people shouldn't do, which is over-research. But I realized that back in 2005 when I first got sick for the first time, and before I got cured in 2012, they always said it was a chronic appendicitis, which, as I've said before, 7 years of appendicitis, probably a record, or it's BS, you know, or something else. So it got me looking, and I noticed that for whatever reason, with all the antibiotics they were giving me and things, they had put me on an antibiotic called Cipro, which I'm sure everybody's familiar with that. At the same time, they gave me Klonopin. Now, if you do your research on that, that is catastrophic. That is, it throws you into some heavy stuff. And I just wonder sometimes if this whole nightmare that started with unnecessary medicine. But that's another, you know, going off the deep end there. Anyways, I'm going to try to make a video about what happened in 2005 to give some background on all this, and to explain how I ever got in 2012 after my surgery put on PTSD medicine. But Until then, keep fighting the good fight. Love you guys, and if you're fighting, keep fighting. You know, don't find a reason. You know, even if it's making a video to keep going. Okay, and I love you. Peace.